You've heard about the one big beautiful bill, but what does it actually do? Let's compare the government to a large household. This new law is like fundamentally changing how the household earns its income and where it spends its money, cutting income. The law gives major tax cuts to corporations and wealthy individuals. It also provides some smaller tax breaks for everyday workers, such as on income from tips and overtime pay. The key takeaway: the government is intentionally collecting less money in taxes from both companies and citizens, changing spending. Because the government's income is now lower, it has to cut spending somewhere. This bill makes deep cuts to social welfare programs for people in need. The most significant cuts are to Medicaid, healthcare support for the poor, and SNAP, the food stamp program. Instead, the money that's been saved is being redirected to things like building a border wall and increasing military spending. So, in a nutshell, the policy is basically saying, we'll cut your taxes, but in exchange, we're cutting funding that helps the sick and the poor, and we'll use that money for defense and border security instead. Why is it such a big deal? This isn't just a minor budget adjustment, it's having a huge impact for two main reasons. One, it changes the fundamental philosophy of the government. This bill represents a major shift in the answer to the basic question: what is the government's role? The Republican view: the government should have minimal involvement. If you cut taxes for corporations and the wealthy, they will invest that money, create jobs, and the benefits will eventually trickle down to everyone. Welfare is a personal responsibility. The Democratic view: the government has a duty to protect its citizens, especially the most vulnerable. A social safety net for the sick and poor is essential. It is fair to tax corporations and the wealthy more to pay for these protections. Because this is a clash between two completely different philosophies on how to run the country, it's causing a massive national debate. Two, it creates clear winners and losers. The effects of this bill are not the same for everyone. Who benefits? Large corporations, shareholders, and high-income individuals see an immediate financial benefit from lower taxes. Who loses? Low-income individuals, the unemployed, and people with disabilities who rely on government assistance are at risk of losing their lifeline. This stark division of who wins and who loses is why the social conflict has become so intense. 3. How does this affect everyday people? For an average working-class person, the impact can be viewed from two different angles. The upside: slight tax relief. You might see a little more money in your paycheck from the tax cuts on things like tips or overtime. Hope for more jobs. The theory is that when companies save money on taxes, they will use it to expand, build new factories, and hire more people, leading to a stronger economy and more job opportunities for everyone in the long run. The downside: the social safety net is disappearing. This is the most critical and dangerous impact. It means that if you suddenly lose your job or get seriously ill, the support system you might have relied on could be gone. You might get a few extra dollars in your paycheck, but what happens if you're hit with a massive hospital bill and the government support that would have helped you is no longer there? What happens if you lose your job and the food assistance program that helped you feed your family is harder to qualify for? This creates a deep sense of insecurity in the lives of everyday people. Rising inequality. The gap between the rich and the poor is likely to grow wider. The wealthy get a huge tax break, while services for the poor are cut. This can lead to greater social instability. A burden on future generations. If you cut taxes but increase spending in other areas, the national debt is likely to increase. That debt doesn't just disappear, it becomes a burden that our children and grandchildren will have to pay back. In conclusion, this bill represents a major battle between two different visions for America. It offers the small carrot of a minor tax cut to some, but it threatens to take away the vital safety net that protects people when they are at their most vulnerable. This fundamental trade-off is why it has become such an enormous and emotional issue.